Imagine being swallowed by the ocean, not for a weekend, not for a month, but for 438 days straight, drifting across the biggest body of water on Earth, with nothing under you but a battered fishing boat, and nothing inside you but the stubborn refusal to quit. That was the reality for Jose Salvador Alvarenga, a 37-year-old fisherman scratching out a living on the Pacific coast of Mexico. No land, no engine, no way to call for help. Just open water stretching in every direction as far as a man could see. In 2012, a routine fishing run turned into the longest solo maritime survival ordeal ever recorded. No motor, no radio, no compass, nothing. Alvarenga would float more than 5,000 miles across the Pacific before it was over. This is the true story of a man who looked the ocean dead in the eye and refused to blink. In 2012, Salvador Alvarenga was 37 years old, a Salvadoran by birth, living rough along Mexico's Pacific coast, doing the only work that ever really fit him, fishing. He had no real setup on shore worth mentioning. His teenage daughter, 13 years old, lived back in El Salvador with her mother, worlds away from the dangerous trade keeping him fed. Salvador didn't mind the distance from ordinary life. He was built for the water, for the risk, for the quiet gamble of every trip out. His boat was a panga, narrow and fiberglass, 25 feet long and completely open to the elements. No cabin, no roof, no shelter of any kind. Just a lean, fast hull designed to cut through waves like a knife through skin, powered by a single outboard engine bolted to the stern. He knew that boat the way most guys know their truck. He trusted it. He trusted himself. And he trusted the Pacific, but only as far as any smart fisherman trusts something that has killed better men than him. On November 18th, he pushed out again. This time, he brought along a partner, a young guy named Ezequiel Cordoba, 22 years old, green as grass, eager to prove himself. The plan was straightforward. Leave around 10 in the morning, work hard through the day and into the night, stay about 6 hours offshore, haul in the catch, come home. More than 1,000 pounds of gear was crammed on that deck. A massive ice chest sat in the middle, waiting to be stuffed full of tuna, shark, mahi-mahi, whatever the water gave up. The weather reports that morning were not subtle. The warnings were right there, plain as day. Alvarenga looked at them, shrugged, and headed out anyway. One solid haul could cover a whole week of expenses. That math made a lot of risks feel worth taking. By evening, they were 75 miles out, deep in open water. Alvarenga had dropped his main line, nearly 2 miles of monofilament disappearing straight down into the black. The wind was already picking up. Back on shore, the storm was doing real damage, tearing roofs off houses, knocking down trees. But 75 miles out, they were only just starting to feel its edges.
At 1 in the morning, the boat took its first serious hit. The panga bucked hard, water flooding over the sides. Cordoba grabbed whatever he could and begged to turn back. Then the swells got brutal, big rolling walls of water throwing the boat around like a toy. Alvarenga made the call. He pulled out his knife and cut the line. 2 miles of gear, thousands of dollars, gone into the dark water in seconds. He spun the bow toward shore, pointing for the little port of Chocohuitl, the place he called home. Water was sheeting across the deck. He grabbed the radio, got his boss on the line, told him things were bad. Then the signal broke up, and the night swallowed everything. Dawn came. Through the chaos, Alvarenga could actually see the mountains. Dark shapes rising on the horizon. Land, safety, home. They were 15 miles out, close enough to taste it. Then the motor coughed once, twice, and died completely. He yanked the starter cord over and over, desperate, until he pulled so hard the cord snapped clean off in his hand. Just like that, the boat went dead in the water, rolling side to side like a log. He got back on the radio, voice cracking, begged his boss Willie to send someone. Willie heard him. Willie promised. Then the radio shorted out, seawater in the circuits, and the line went permanently silent. After that, there was nothing but wind screaming and rain hammering and the ocean doing whatever it wanted with them. The storm pushed them out for 5 straight days. By the time it finally let up, they were nearly 300 miles offshore. The boat sat so low in the water, a passing ship would have to be almost on top of them to spot it. They were 2 specks in an ocean that did not care at all whether they lived or died. Cordoba cracked first. "We're going to die," he said, flat and quiet, like he'd already made his peace with it. "No," Alvarenga told him. "Don't even say that. Someone will find us." He didn't fully believe it himself, but he knew if he let that thought take root in either of them, it was over. They had nothing to signal with. No flares, no working radio, nothing. The sun cooked them during the day, the nights turned cold and sharp. Their only shelter was that big ice chest where they curled up together just to hold on to some warmth. Hunger set in, thirst came right behind it. Their bodies started feeling hollow. On the 4th day, right when it felt truly hopeless, the rain finally came. They stripped off their shirts, threw their heads back, and drank straight from the sky, gulping it down as fast as it fell. They caught about 5 gallons in whatever containers they could find floating nearby. Rationed right, maybe a week's worth. Day 11 brought something else. Meat. A sea turtle bumped against the hull in the dark, disoriented. Alvarenga grabbed it and hauled it aboard. It felt like winning the lottery. The flesh kept them fed. The blood gave them something to drink when the water ran low. From that point on, Alvarenga became a hunter, eyes constantly scanning the water for turtles, for birds, for anything edible. Cordoba could not get there mentally. The blood made him gag. Raw meat turned his stomach. Alvarenga did what he could to make it easier, cutting the turtle into thin strips, giving it a rub of seawater, laying it across the dead motor casing to dry in the sun. He'd set it out on the turtle shell like he was serving dinner. It barely counted as food, but barely was enough to keep breathing.
The hunger did something to their heads. Cordoba started seeing things that weren't there. An orange orchard, vivid and real to him, just sitting out there on the water. He begged Alvarenga for fruit, for oranges specifically. So Alvarenga played along. He made a whole show of it, said he'd go to the store, walked to the other end of the boat, came back, told him sorry, the store was closed. Somehow that nonsense worked. Cordoba settled down and fell asleep. You do what you have to do out there. The weeks stacked up. A month became 2. Survival stopped being about food and water and became about something harder to name: pure will. Getting through today so tomorrow was possible. The days started blurring together until they forced some structure into them, built a routine just to have something to hold on to. Every morning at 5, Alvarenga climbed out and sat on the deck facing east. The sunrise was the one thing he could count on, a hard, bright line of light that reminded him the rest of the world still existed somewhere. First, he checked whatever crude traps he'd rigged. Some mornings there was a small fish. Most mornings there was nothing. Whatever he caught, he waited for Cordoba to wake up before he touched it. Even out there, even half-starved, he split everything down the middle. That mattered to him. They spent most of each day tucked inside the ice chest to save energy. It was cramped and dark and uncomfortable, but in that miserable space, something real grew between them, a genuine friendship, odd and lopsided, but real. At night, they'd lie flat on the deck, staring up at the stars, pointing out shapes, making up names for constellations. It was a game, a way of tricking themselves into feeling less alone. Then one night, probably around Christmas Eve by their best guess, everything lurched sideways again. Cordoba doubled over in serious pain, arms wrapped around his stomach. He'd eaten part of a seabird earlier in the day. When they'd cut it open, they found a whole snake coiled inside its gut, perfectly intact. He survived it, but just barely. After that, he couldn't make himself eat. Every meal became a fight. The thought of raw meat or raw bird made him physically sick. He started pulling away, going quiet, retreating somewhere inside himself where Alvarenga couldn't reach him. Weeks went by. Cordoba shrank down to almost nothing, arms like sticks. His thighs were barely wider than his wrists. He stopped fighting it. He told Alvarenga straight up that dying was better than continuing like this. One day he actually said goodbye, then tried to throw himself over the side. Alvarenga tackled him hard, dragged him back across the deck, and physically shoved him into the ice chest, sat on the lid and held it shut. He talked to him through the lid, begging him to hang on, telling him they had a story to tell, that people needed to hear what they'd been through. When Cordoba finally went quiet, Alvarenga opened it up and climbed in beside him, still talking, still pleading. It didn't take. A few days later, Cordoba said he was done. Alvarenga pushed water at him, kept saying, "Don't go, don't leave me out here by myself." It didn't matter. Cordoba slipped away quietly, gone. Alvarenga sat him up on the bench so he wouldn't slide into the water. The next morning he came out of the ice chest, and there was his friend, sitting in the early sun, looking almost peaceful, like he'd just dozed off. Alvarenga talked to him anyway, asked him questions, waited for answers that didn't come. Pretending helped. It was easier than the truth. 6 days later, he let the body go into the sea.
Now he was completely alone. Just him and the Pacific, and a boat that was falling apart around him. He climbed into the ice chest and cried until there was nothing left. Then he got up and went back to work, because what else was there? He invented a rough system for checking if sharks were in the water. Toss some bird scraps overboard, watch and wait. If nothing came up, he'd drop in for a quick swim. Just a few minutes, and he'd tell himself he was at a beach with friends, just hanging out, just a regular day. His mind drifted more and more toward home, toward his daughter Fatima, 14 now, a girl he hadn't seen in years. In whatever sleep he managed, she would call out to him. Her voice was the thing that kept pulling him back from the edge. He built a whole future in his head during the long, empty days. A house, a yard, kids playing in the grass, animals wandering around. He'd pray for just one more shot at making that real. Then one afternoon, after month of pure horizon, a ship appeared. Huge. A container vessel, driving straight at him like it had somewhere important to be. For one wild second, he thought it was going to plow right over him. 3 men were at the stern with fishing lines out. He screamed. He waved both arms so hard his shoulders hurt. They looked up. They actually looked right at him. They even waved back. And then the ship kept going. No lifeboat, no shout across the water, nothing. It just moved past him like he was a piece of floating garbage and disappeared over the horizon. Something in him went out with it. His appetite died. His energy dropped. The same gray emptiness that had taken Cordoba started pressing in at the edges of his own mind. He drifted into his 11th month at sea, 5,000 miles covered at less than walking speed. He was down to rags, a ratty sweatshirt on top, torn underwear below, one random sneaker he'd fished out of the ocean. His hair had matted into a thick reddish clump. His beard covered most of his face. He started asking himself questions with no answers. Was he still alive on purpose, or just by accident? Was this whole thing some kind of test, a punishment? Maybe the point was just to prove that a man could hold himself together when everything around him was falling apart. On January 30th, 2014, something changed. Coconuts appeared in the water around the boat. Then seabirds, lots of them, noisy and circling low. And then, through a heavy curtain of rain, something on the horizon that wasn't water. A strip of land. Low, green, ragged. He paddled toward it for half a day, watching for sharks the whole time. At 10 yards out, he jumped in and let the waves carry him the rest of the way. He hit the sand and grabbed it with both hands, squeezed it like it might disappear. 2 islanders found him not long after, barely recognizing him as human.
He had washed up on Eben Atoll, the southernmost point of the Marshall Islands, one of the most isolated patches of land anywhere on the planet. If he drifted past it, the next land would have been the Philippines, 3,000 miles further west. Doctors at the hospital found anemia, and almost certainly parasites from all the raw meat he'd eaten. He couldn't sleep. His body wouldn't let him rest even when he was desperate for it. But worse than any of the physical stuff was Cordoba. The kid was everywhere, in his head constantly, a ghost that didn't leave just because the ocean did. After 11 days in the hospital, he was strong enough to fly home to El Salvador. When Fatima walked into the room, he grabbed her and held on like she was the only solid thing left in the world, whispering sorry over and over for all the years he'd missed.
Coming home didn't fix him. Not right away. For months, he was a wreck. He couldn't look at the ocean with his chest locking up. He slept with every light on. He couldn't stand being by himself. All the instincts that had kept him alive out there, the constant scanning, the fear, the waiting for the next disaster, they didn't just switch off because he was back on dry land. It took almost a full year before he could really sit with what had happened to him. He finally looked at the maps, really looked, traced the whole route across the Pacific with his finger. And that's when it hit him, what he had actually done, what it actually meant. 438 days, 5,000 miles, hunger, thirst, loneliness, loss, all of it survived on nothing but will. Alvarenga had gone further into the edge of what a human being can take than almost anyone in recorded history, and he'd come back. His story isn't just about survival. It's a reminder that the gap between giving up and holding on is razor thin, and most people never find out which side they're really on. If this story grabbed you the way it grabbed us, go ahead and hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.